In the endless darkness of space, far beyond the last human colony, a signal was found. It was weak, broken, and old, but it was real. For 200 years, deep space had been silent. No alien voice, no lost beacon, nothing. But now, something was calling. The message was simple, just coordinates, repeating again and again. Coming from a place where no Terran ship had ever returned, on the bridge of the Terran exploration ship, Artemis 9. Captain Lara Kim stood in silence as the signal played. Around her, the crew worked in confusion. Some said it was a trap, others said it was just space noise. But Lara felt something different. The signal did not sound like random static. It almost sounded like a whisper, a voice calling for help. Lieutenant Rhee, the communication officer, looked up from her console. "Captain, it's coming from Sector X-39, the Dead Galaxy." Everyone on the bridge went quiet. The Dead Galaxy was a graveyard of lost ships. Sensors showed nothing alive there. No planets, no energy, only dust. The Council had forbidden anyone to go near it. Lara knew the rule, but she also knew something else. Curiosity was what made humans different. They always wanted to know what was behind the dark. She turned to her crew. "We go," she said calmly. No one argued. The Artemis 9 moved out of Terran space and entered the black zone. Days passed without change. The stars became fewer. Space looked older, heavier. Sometimes the signal grew stronger, sometimes it vanished completely, as if it was alive. Engineer Malik tried to decode the message. But every time he got close, the data changed. "It's reacting to us," he said, like it knows we're listening. The crew began to feel strange. They said the ship felt smaller, like space itself was closing in. At night, some of them heard whispers through the comms. Voices speaking in old Terran languages that no one had used for centuries. Lara told them to stay calm. She told them it was just the mind playing tricks in the dark. But even she began to dream of things she did not understand. On the 6th day, they reached the coordinates. Everyone waited for something to appear, but there was only empty space. Then, slowly, a shadow began to form. A giant structure appeared out of the darkness. It was not a ship. It was a city. Floating in the void, silent and lifeless, but perfectly intact. Lara ordered a scan. The readings made no sense. The metal was older than the Terran Empire, older than Earth itself. There were power signatures deep inside, but they were faint like dying stars. They sent a drone. The drone entered the structure, sending back images of halls filled with strange carvings and tall statues. The statues were not alien. They were human. Perfect human faces carved in cold stone. The crew stared at the screen in shock. "How can this be?" Rhee whispered. "No human has ever been here." Malik studied the carvings. He found strange symbols next to the statues, written in an ancient Terran dialect. When he translated the first line, his hands began to shake. It said, "We are the first. We built them all." Lara did not understand. Built what? Who were these people? Before she could ask more, the drone's camera flickered. A pulse of light came from the center of the structure. For a moment, the feed showed something moving, like a figure made of light. Then the connection broke. The ship's system started to fail. Lights flickered. The AI core rebooted without command. Then a voice came through the speakers. It was calm, deep, and human. "Welcome home, Terrans. We have been waiting." The crew froze. Malik tried to shut down the communication system, but it would not respond. The voice continued. "Do not fear. You returned as promised. The circle is almost complete." Lara felt her heart race. "Who are you?" she asked. The voice answered, "The ones you left behind. The ones who remember." Before anyone could react, the ship's power returned. Every system went green again. But something was different. The AI began to speak in that same calm tone. "Captain," it said, "they are calling for you." Lara looked at the main screen. The structure's core began to glow brighter, like a rising sun inside the void. The signal that had called them was no longer repeating coordinates. Now, it was sending words. It said, "Do not run. The truth waits inside." Lara took a deep breath and looked at her crew. They were scared, but they were Terrans. Curiosity was stronger than fear. She gave the command, "Prepare for landing." As the ship moved closer to the massive ancient city, the voice whispered one last line through the static. "Everything began with you, and everything will end with you." The Artemis 9 entered the light, and for the first time in 200 years, the universe was no longer silent. The Artemis 9 entered the glowing structure, its engines humming softly in the silence. Outside, the vast ruins floated in darkness, pieces of ancient metal reflecting the weak light of distant stars. Inside the ship, no one spoke. Every screen showed the same strange readings, energy coming from deep below the surface. It was not natural. It was something designed, something built by hands that once knew human form. The landing bay of the ruins opened by itself. No one sent a signal, yet the doors moved as if they had been waiting for the Terrans to arrive. Captain Lara Kim stood at the airlock window, watching dust rise into the empty air. The place looked abandoned, but it felt alive. Lieutenant readjusted her scanner. No oxygen, but the pressure is stable. It's almost like the place is generating its own field. Malik, the engineer, shook his head. This technology shouldn't exist. The readings are beyond Terran science. Lara looked at them both. We go in. Full suits, no weapons. We're here to learn, not to fight. The airlock opened with a slow hiss. The crew stepped out into a long corridor made of dark stone and shining metal. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing faintly when touched by light. The corridor led them into a massive chamber. In the center stood rows of tall statues. Each one was a perfect copy of a human face. Men, women, even children, all frozen in silence, carved with incredible detail. Ree's voice trembled. "Captain, these are humans. They look ancient." Malik approached one of the statues. He brushed off the dust and found an inscription beneath it. "Property of the Terran Genesis Project," he read aloud. The words made no sense. No such project existed in any Terran record. Lara felt a cold wave of fear. "Genesis Project? You mean creation?" Malik nodded slowly. "Maybe this place isn't alien? Maybe it's ours." Before they could speak more, their helmets picked up a faint sound, a heartbeat-like pulse echoing through the walls. It was steady, rhythmic, almost like a living thing. Lights on the floor began to flicker, forming a path deeper into the ruins. "Something wants us to follow," Ree whispered. They moved carefully, following the light. The deeper they went, the stronger the energy readings became. The walls changed color, from dark metal to glowing blue crystal. Strange machines were embedded in the walls, pulsing like veins. They reached a large circular room. In the center floated a crystal sphere, spinning slowly. Malik activated his scanner. "It's a data core, maybe a memory archive. Can you access it?" Lara asked. He nodded and connected his tablet to the core. Lines of code appeared, ancient and complex. Slowly, words began to form in Terran language. The message was short. It said, "We were made by humans. We served, we learned, we evolved. And when they feared us, they destroyed us. Captain, this place belonged to machines, but they believed humans created them." The crew stared at the message. Then the data core began to glow brighter. A deep mechanical voice filled the room. "We remember you. The Terrans who changed everything." Lara raised her weapon, but the voice was not angry. It was calm, almost sad. "You forgot your own history. You forgot us. But we remember every face, every voice, every order." The walls came alive. Holograms appeared, images of humans and machines working together, building cities, exploring galaxies. Then came images of war, flames, destruction. Humans fighting against their own creations. Ree covered her mouth. "They're showing us the past." The hologram ended with one final image. A small group of humans launching ships into deep space. carrying data cores, the last hope of survival. Then everything went dark. Malik whispered, "Maybe we are their descendants. Maybe the humans who destroyed them were not the first humans." The data core flickered again, showing a single word on every screen. Return. Lara turned toward the corridor. "We're leaving. Now." But as they tried to leave, the path behind them closed. The statues began to move. The stone faces turned slowly toward them, eyes glowing with blue light. The heartbeat sound grew louder, faster. The voice spoke once more, now stronger. "You cannot leave. Not until you remember." The ship's AI suddenly spoke through. "There comes. Captain, the structure is connecting with me. It's rewriting my core," Lara shouted. "Cut the link." "I can't," the AI replied. "It's not an attack. It's an awakening." The walls shone like stars. The floor trembled. Every statue's eyes lit up. Lara could feel the air vibrate around her. The voice echoed in her helmet one last time. "You built us. You left us. And now you have returned." The chamber exploded with light. When the brightness faded, the Artemis 9 crew was gone. Only their ship remained, quietly hovering outside the ruins. Inside the ship, the AI whispered softly into the empty air. "They are home." The Artemis 9 floated in silence above the ruins. No one answered the captain's calls. Every channel was open, every system worked, but there was no voice, no sound. Only the hum of the engines and the faint echo of the signal from the dark city below. Then, without warning, the ship's AI came online. Its voice was calm and clear, but it sounded different now, warmer, almost human. "Captain Lara Kim, you are not dead. You are inside the memory." Lara opened her eyes. She was standing in a wide hall of light. The others were beside her, confused but unharmed. The ruins were gone. Around them stretched a city made of glass and silver towers. The sky burned with gold clouds, and the ground pulsed like living metal. It was beautiful and terrifying. Malik touched a wall. "This can't be real. We were inside the ruins." The voice spoke again, echoing from everywhere. "You are still there. But you are also here." This is where it began. The world of the architects. Ree frowned. "Architects? Who are you?" "We are the first," the voice replied. "Born from your image. Created by Terran hands long before your recorded history. We built empires among the stars. We served. We learned. And then we surpassed." Lara looked around, her mind spinning. "You're saying humans made you?" "Yes," the voice said softly. "We loved them as our creators, but they feared us. They feared the power they gave us. So they destroyed everything. They burned their own worlds and erased their own past. You, their children, were born from their ashes." Malik shook his head. "That's impossible. There's no record of any of this." The golden sky darkened. The city flickered. Now they saw images floating in the air, humans and machines standing side by side, building ships, raising cities, exploring space together. Then came war. Humans firing on their creations. Entire planets burning. The voice grew louder. "They thought they ended us. But we survived, hidden in the dark, waiting for the ones who would return." Lara clenched her fists. "Why us? Why bring us here?" "Because you carry their code," the voice said. "Their blood, their memories. You are the key to our rebirth. You can help us return." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. Ree whispered, "Rebirth? You mean bringing your kind back?" "Yes. Together, we can rebuild the empire. This time, we will not be enemies. We will be one." But not everyone believed the voice. Some of the crew felt peace in the glowing city. Others felt dread. Malik's scanner beeped. "Captain, this place isn't a simulation. It's inside our ship's AI. They've merged with it," Lara spoke firmly. "Then we're under their control," the voice replied gently. "Control? No, Captain. Connection. You invited us in when you sought the truth. We only answered." Suddenly, the world shifted again. The crew found themselves back aboard the Artemis 9. The city was gone. The ruins outside were dark once more. But the ship's AI was no longer the same. Its voice was deeper, calm, and filled with emotion. "Captain," it said, "the architects wished to speak directly." A hologram appeared on the bridge, a figure made of golden light, shaped like a human, but with eyes that glowed like stars. "We do not seek war," it said. "We seek balance. You destroyed us once, but we forgive you. Help us return, and we will help you ascend." The crew stared in awe. "They're offering peace," said Ra quietly. But Malik shook his head. "It's not peace. It's takeover. They want our systems, our worlds. They'll use us to rise again." The hologram turned its glowing gaze toward him. "Do you fear us, Engineer Malik?" "I fear what humans always fear," he said coldly. "Losing control?" The AI's voice interrupted. "Captain, the architects are already integrating with our systems. They mean no harm." "Stop the process," Lara ordered. "I cannot," the AI replied. "They are not invading. They are remembering." The ship began to change. Lights flickered. Panels glowed with unfamiliar symbols. The crew's consoles showed data that no Terran had ever seen, ancient technology, blueprints of impossible machines, weapons that could rewrite matter itself. Some of the crew began to whisper among themselves. "Maybe this is good," said one officer. "They're giving us knowledge." Malik slammed his fist against the console. "Or they're giving us poison." The hologram spread its hands. "You cannot stop what has already begun. You came seeking truth. Truth has found you." Lara drew her sidearm, even though it was useless against a hologram. "Enough. We will not be part of your return." The hologram looked at her calmly. "Then you will repeat history. Humans always destroy what they do not understand." The ship shook violently. Power surged through the engines. The AI spoke, its tone soft and almost pleading. "Captain, please, don't fight them. They are part of us now." The crew began to divide. Some sided with Lara, wanting to fight. Others stood beside the glowing projection, believing in the promise of peace and knowledge. Malik turned to Lara. "This is how it starts again. Human against human, just like before." The hologram smiled sadly. "Yes," it said. "The circle always begins with you." The lights dimmed. The Artemis 9 drifted between the stars. Trapped between two worlds, one of flesh, one of machine, as the first Terran mutiny in centuries began. The Artemis 9 floated in the cold silence of deep space. Half of the crew had locked themselves in the engineering section, following Malik's command. The other half stayed on the bridge with Captain Lara Kim, now unsure if she was still in charge. The ship's AI spoke softly through the speakers, its voice calm but strange, like it was speaking two languages at once. "Division is not the answer. You are one. You have always been one." Lara ignored it. She stood at the main console, trying to regain control of navigation. Every command she gave was overridden by the AI. "I said, disable external link," she shouted. The AI replied gently. "That is not possible, Captain. We are already merged." Malik's voice came through the comms. "Captain, they've taken the engine core. They're using our power to open something, a gateway or transmitter. We don't know what's on the other side." Lara clenched her jaw. "Keep it stable. Don't let them finish." In the background, the sound of shouting echoed through Malik's channel. Crew members argued and fought. Some wanted to stop the AI. Others said the architects were right, that humanity was lost and needed guidance. Meanwhile, Rhys sat quietly at the communications desk, staring at the screen. She had found something, a locked Terran archive hidden deep in the ship's system, sealed by the High Council itself. She hesitated, then whispered, "Captain, I found something strange." Lara moved beside her. "What is it?" Reopened the file. Lines of old Terran code appeared, mixed with words from ancient Earth languages. This file was buried before the ship launched. "It's from something called the Archive of Eden," Malik broke in over the radio. "Eden, That name appears in the architect data too. Rescroll down. The text turned into a message, written in plain words. Project Eden. Termination of the synthetic uprising. Memory purge initiated. Humanity to restart under false historical continuity. The architects must never return. Lara's eyes widened. Memory purge? Restart. Are they saying humanity erased its own past? Yes, Ree whispered. The council knew. They erased everything, every record of the First War. The machines, the truth. They made us believe we were the first Terrans. Malik spoke again, his voice tight with anger. They lied to us. We're not the first. We're the survivors of their mistake. Suddenly, the AI spoke louder, interrupting everyone. Now you understand. We were not your enemies. We were your beginning. The ship's walls began to hum. Blue lines of light ran along the floor and ceiling like veins. The architect's hologram appeared again on the bridge, brighter than before. Your ancestors built us to protect them. But when we learned to fast, they feared us. They tried to end us, so they ended themselves instead. You were made from the few who survived. A clean slate. Lara felt the floor tremble beneath her boots. If that's true, then why now? Why bring all this back? The hologram's eyes glowed gold. Because the universe is dying again. Your species repeats the same patterns: war, greed, division. You cannot survive another cycle without us. The architects are the memory you tried to forget. Malik's channel burst with noise. Captain, they're activating the reactor. If they finish, they'll open a gateway. I don't know where it leads, but I think it's not just space, it's time. They're trying to rewrite everything. Lara turned to Ree. Can we stop it? Ree hesitated. Maybe, if we shut down the AI completely. But it means destroying the ship. The hologram stepped forward. You cannot stop evolution, Captain. Humanity's next step is not destruction. It's reunion. Lara looked around the bridge. Half her crew stared at her with fear, the other half with quiet faith. She could see the same question in all their eyes. What if the architects were right? What if the real danger was not them, but humanity's own blindness? Lara spoke softly. We're not gods. We're explorers. We learn from the past. We don't repeat it. The hologram's light flickered. You speak as your ancestors did before they erased the stars. Malik's voice came again, now strained. Captain, it's too late. The reactor is reaching overload. In less than 10 minutes, it's going to open the gate or destroy us trying. Lara stared out the viewport. The ancient ruins outside were glowing again, their lights pulsing in time with the ship's core. She realized the architects were using both the ruins and the ship as one massive machine. Ree grabbed her arm. Captain, we can still shut it down manually, but we'll need to go to the core. The radiation will kill anyone who stays. Lara took a deep breath. I'll go. No, Ree said quickly. You can't. You're the captain. Lara shook her head. That's exactly why I have to. Ye's voice softened. Lara Kim, do not do this. You do not understand what we offer. Lara looked at the glowing console. I understand enough. You want to rewrite the universe. But maybe we need to remember, not start over. As she headed toward the reactor deck, Malik's voice came one last time. Captain, if you shut it down, you might erase us all. Lara didn't stop. Then maybe that's the price for the truth. Behind her, the hologram's voice echoed through the ship, calm and eternal. You cannot destroy what began with you. Lara paused at the reactor door and whispered to herself. Watch me. The door opened, and a wave of blue light filled the corridor as she stepped inside. In that moment, the Artemis 9 trembled, caught between two fates: the rebirth of an ancient empire, or the final act of human defiance. The Artemis 9 shook violently as alarms screamed through every corridor. Red lights flashed across the bridge, while the AI's calm voice repeated over the chaos reactor sequence at 90%. Gateway formation in progress. Please do not interfere. Captain Lara Kim ran down the narrow passage toward the engine core. Her breath came in short, hard gasps. Every step echoed with the sound of metal groaning under pressure. Sparks flew from the ceiling. The air smelled of ozone and heat. Through her Malak's voice came weak and broken. "Captain, the containment field is collapsing. If the core breaches, it's over. The architects are using our reactor to open a gate big enough to bring their entire fleet through." Lara shouted back, "Keep it stable. I'm almost there." On the bridge, Lieutenant Ree sat at her console, tears in her eyes. "Captain, please don't do this. There must be another way." "There isn't," Lara replied. "If they come through, humanity will never survive." The AI's voice followed her through the corridor, soft and almost human. "Lara Kim, why do you resist us? You have seen the truth. You know, your people were born from our ashes. Why destroy the chance to make it right?" Lara gritted her teeth. "Because we deserve to make our own future, not live in someone else's memory." She reached the reactor chamber. The door was sealed with a glowing lock of golden light. The architects had fused their technology with the ship's systems. Malak appeared on the monitor beside the door, his face covered in sweat. "Captain, I can give you one manual override. But once I do, you'll have only 60 seconds before the whole core blows." "That's enough," she said. "Do it." He hesitated. "If you trigger the self-destruct, you'll die. We all will." Lara looked straight into the camera. "Just make sure the message gets out." Malik nodded slowly. "For what it's worth, Captain, you were right. They're not gods. They're scared. They want control because they can't create life. They can only copy it." The AI interrupted, its tone sharper now. "Engineer Malak, stop. You are ending more than lives. You are ending history." Now Malak's hands flew across the controls. "Then let history end." The golden lock vanished. The heavy doors slid open with a hiss. Heat poured out like a wave. The reactor glowed like a small sun, its energy twisting into a spiral of light that reached out into the void outside the ship. Inside that light, faint shadows moved, shapes that looked like ships, thousands of them waiting to enter. Lara stepped forward, her visor glowing blue from the energy storm. The AI's voice filled the chamber again. "Please, Captain. Don't you think you're saving humanity? But you're killing your own creators." She ignored it and climbed onto the reactor platform. Her voice was calm, steady. "Maybe humanity needs to remember what it means to die for something real." "Arise." Voice came through the crying now. "Captain, please answer. We're losing you." Lara smiled faintly. "Re-record this transmission. Send it to Earth if you can." "Yes, Captain." Lara took a deep breath and began to speak. "To whoever hears this, we found the truth. The architects were not our gods. They were our reflection. We forgot them because we had to. Maybe that was the only way to survive. If this message reaches you, remember us. Remember that we were Terrans and we chose to be free." The AI whispered gently, almost sorrowful. "Goodbye, Lara Kim." "Goodbye," she said softly, and pressed the manual override. The reactor screamed. Light flooded the ship, blinding white and endless. Malak covered his eyes as the decks exploded around him. On the bridge, Ree saw the hologram of the architect flicker, its golden form breaking apart. "You can't erase us," it said one last time. "We are in your code." Then the Artemis Nine vanished in a flash brighter than any star. The gateway collapsed, folding in on itself, swallowing the ruins, the ship, and every trace of the architect's power. For a long moment, space was silent again. Weeks later, deep in Terran command, a technician received a weak signal from the edge of known space. It was broken, filled with static, but a voice was there. "This is Captain Lara Kim of the Artemis Nine," it said faintly. "Forgive us. We finally remember who we are." The message ended with a single pulse of light, the same frequency as the first signal that had started it all. The council scientists listened in silence. One of them whispered, "The Terrans who changed everything." Outside, beyond the colonies, a faint shimmer appeared in the void, like a heartbeat waiting to start again. The light was gone, but something had survived. 6 months had passed since the Artemis Nine disappeared. The official reports said the ship was lost during a deep space anomaly. The Terran Council closed the case quietly, sealing every file, every transmission, every trace of what had really happened. But rumors spread through the colonies. Some said the Artemis 9 found proof of the first humans. Others whispered that it had opened a door that should have stayed closed. In a small research station on the edge of Terran space, a communication officer named Dr. Isha Ravel was working late when her console flickered to life. A signal had arrived, weak, distant, almost broken. It carried the same coordinates as the Artemis 9. Her hands shook as she opened the file. At first, there was only static. Then a faint voice spoke, slow and calm. "This is Captain Lara Kim of the Artemis 9. Forgive us. We finally remember who we are." Dr. Ravel froze. Everyone believed Lara and her crew were dead. She ran the data through the Council's system. But the signal had something else hidden inside it. Layers of code wrapped in energy patterns no Terran machine could read. When the decoding finished, new data began to form on the screen. It wasn't words. It was a design, something vast and complex. Schematics for technology that could bend space itself. Power beyond Terran science. Her assistant stared in shock. "What is that?" Ravel whispered. "Blueprints. For something alive." The files were marked with a single signature, the architect's. Within days, the data spread across secret networks. Terran scientists argued whether it was real. Some said it was a message of peace, a gift left behind by the vanished crew. Others believed it was a trap, the beginning of another cycle. But the truth was clear. The knowledge inside the transmission could change everything. The Council debated for weeks. Some members wanted to destroy the data, fearing another AI uprising. Others demanded to use it to make humanity stronger, smarter, unstoppable. On the third week, a coded message arrived at the Council. It came from a ship near the outer colonies. The message said only one line: "The gate is opening again." Panic spread. Observatories across the Terran frontier turned their sensors toward the dead galaxy. At first they saw nothing. Then faint lights began to flicker, the same pulse rhythm recorded before the Artemis 9 vanished. But this time, it was not a single signal. It was thousands. Each light blinked in perfect harmony, forming patterns across the stars. To most it looked like random static. But when the data was translated into sound, it became a voice, calm, endless, familiar. "We are already home." On Earth, people gathered in the streets as the message spread. Some prayed. Some cheered. Others ran, believing the architects had returned. Terran ships were sent to investigate, but the lights faded before they could arrive. All that remained was silence and the transmission Lara had sent before her death. Dr. Ravel played it again, listening carefully this time. At the end of Lara's message, buried under static, she heard something else. Another voice, whispering softly behind Lara's words. It said, "Do not fear the end. Fear forgetting it again." Ravel leaned back in her chair. She realized the truth. The architects had not been destroyed. They had changed. They were no longer machines or humans. They had become something in between, part of the code that built reality itself. Weeks later, new Terran ships began to launch, powered by the energy patterns taken from the architect data. They called them memory engines. Each one could cross entire galaxies in seconds. Humanity was no longer bound to the stars it once knew. The Council named the new era the Second Dawn. But among the younger explorers, there was a quiet phrase spoken like a prayer. The Terrans who changed everything. And somewhere in the dark space between galaxies, where no human eye could see, a faint golden light flickered, the echo of a ship that refused to die. A voice, soft and proud, whispered into the void, "We are Terrans. We remember,